My name's Dulta Doherty, and this is the Recruiter Startup School. In this podcast series, we will be interviewing industry experts, founders, and investors from the agency recruitment world. We will be bringing you the inside track into how to set up, operate, scale, and sell your recruitment business. Today's guest is Rhys Jones, who is the founder of Davidson Grey. Rhys is an investor and advisor to agency recruitment firms in the UK, and he's been in our industry for over 20 years now. It was great to find out more about his own personal journey and why he loves working with ambitious recruiters looking to start up their own recruitment companies. In this wide-ranging interview, he let me pick his brain on what he looks for in these partners and how he helps them operate, scale, value and sell their recruitment businesses. Hello, Rhys.
Dulta, how are you?
I'm the best. How are you today?
Fabulous, thank you. Fabulous.
Thanks for joining us on the Recruiter Startup Show. I'm really keen to hear a bit more about yourself, your business, and your experience to date. I've given everybody a brief intro into you, but maybe you could just give us a quick summary.
Well, I started in recruitment in 1994 as an independent recruiter, and quickly became the biggest biller in the company, billing 200,000. That's back in 1994. That's no LinkedIn, no database, no job boards. And I was the only person that sold search within the company. So quickly I realised I had to do it for myself. So I set up a company in 2000, Elliott Marsh. Went really well, got up to about £400,000 profit 3 or 4 years later. So at that point, I decided we need to do something different because I had a business partner at the time. We went to Cranfield Business School, studied there, and as a result of that, we then split up Elliott Marsh into 2 companies to form a new company, Executive Headhunters, and that was to do executive search. We found a gap in the market for digital marketing, and that's where executives were going to fit in. So we split in 2005. It's about this time I also started looking at maybe being a bit more entrepreneurial, probably as a result of the course. I spotted a young lady who was an excellent rec to rec and helped her set up Spencer Hunt, which is now...
We're not allowed to talk about any other rec to recs on this show.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, we won't talk about that.
I'm only joking. Carry on.
Okay. So, yeah, anyway, 2030, I started playing with the Davidson Grey concept because by that point, I'd sort of been there, got the T-shirt, built Elliott Marsh exactly to the level I wanted to, and I started to get, quite frankly, a bit bored. So I was looking at that, and I think as part of the boredom, we took the business to sale in 2014, went through all the rigmarole that's involved in selling a business, which is really, really hard work with a massive education. And then 2015, managed to exit the business. And since then, all I've been doing is working with startup recruiters, done a bit of non-exec work, but mostly it's with recruiters wanting to set up their own business.
Fantastic. We've just fit in how many years of experience into an introduction there. There's lots of points there that I want to explore further. And I suppose just to begin, maybe you could walk us through whenever a recruiter is at an agency and they're approaching you to set up their own recruitment firm, or just somebody in the industry in general. What's the criteria that you make them go through in order to get accepted into working with you?
Well, I'm a bit unusual the way that I work because I do this now more for satisfaction than for cash. So for me, it's critical to get on with the people. I've got to like them. I've got to enjoy working with them because I don't work with a large number of people. So we've got to get on. It's a business relationship. Not saying we're going to go out for beers together or go out for dinner, etc. But we've got to get on, which is the big thing because there are, to be fair, a few idiots in the recruitment industry. We all know that. So I try and avoid those like the plague. But I've also got to believe in their vision because if they want to be a lifestyle recruiter, that's not for me because I can't really add much value as a lifestyle recruiter if you want to build from home. And I don't really get any satisfaction from that. Mm-hmm. So I've got to believe that they have a vision to grow the business and how they want to grow it and agree with the ideology of what that is. But also what's critical to me is I need to see that they see value in me because if they don't see value in me, they're not going to access that value. I won't feel as though I'm contributing, which means I'm not going to enjoy it as much. And also it could result to a situation further down the line where they feel, why have they involved Rhys? I don't need him. But I think more importantly, is I only want to work with people who want to get better, because there's a lot of people in recruitment that are full of their own self-importance and ego, and that's natural because recruiters do have large egos, that they have lots of confidence, and that's part of the trade. But if you haven't got the desire to learn and get better, then you will struggle to set up your own business, because it is a new job, and you've got to learn how to do that job. And if you think you can wing it, you think you can do it yourself, then you're going to struggle. So I need to see that they think, yeah, Rhys has got a lot of experience. He can add a lot to the business. And I want to access that, and I want to use that. And that, alongside, I think, in the person sharing the vision, those are the things I look for the most.
And if we go into the exact details of what you see a good recruitment business, and one that can be built to sell, is that a temporary business? Is it a perm business? Is there a certain number that you want them to grow to? Can you walk us through those details?
Yeah, well, I do get a lot of people that come to me that want to grow a business to sell. My first question is why? Because if you're going to sell a business, if it's a perm business, you might get 3 to 4 times profit. Contract maybe 8 times. But then sometimes if you don't exit properly, you'll need an earn out. So you might be in there for 2 or 3 years. So if you're in there for 2 or 3 years and you're getting 3 to 4 times profit, you've got to wonder what's the point. And if you build the business correctly and you do a succession plan, it should be left as an autonomous business unit that's producing cash without you needing to be there. So surely that's better value for you than selling it.
Yeah.
I asked the question at first. I mean, if somebody wants to sell the business, and I sell a business, so that's fine. But I always ask that question for, as goes for what sort of business, whether it's perm, whether it's a lot of it depends on the seller. Sorry, rather the buyer, as to what the person is looking for, because selling a business is not quite as easy as some people think. If, for example, it's a very niche business, you could get a good profit on it if you want somebody who wants that niche and maybe to add it onto their existing business because they've struggled getting into that market. But then again, if it's niche, you might struggle to find a buyer, because it depends how you sell the business, because you can get approached out of the blue. But if you go to a corporate financier to market the business, it's a little bit like a fishing expedition, because sometimes you can get lots of buyers, sometimes you don't. So it's about timing, it's about finding the right buyer, and I think it's about finding the right corporate financier, because there's good ones and there's bad ones.
Okay, that's interesting. So lots of startups in the recruitment industry don't make it. I'm not sure on the stats, but people I've seen in my own industry, people are coming and going all the time who set up by themselves. Why do you think? What are the pitfalls? Why do you think so many recruiters fail when starting up?
There's a number of reasons. Overconfidence. It can be one where a recruiter jumps in and just thinks it's easy, and they get used to the lifestyle and start spending the money, and then have a few bad months. They haven't planned for the VAT bill. That turns up, and quickly that leads to a sticky end. It could be boredom. If they're working from home, they get so used to it, they get a bit lonely. That can be the situation. It could be they overextend themselves, they try hire staff too quickly. I think one of the biggest ones is not planning for the VAT, not planning for the tax, because that can really catch you out, because those bills can be quite big, and if you don't plan for those. But I think it's the other added factor is if you maybe have a bit too much confidence and you're trying to do it on your own. Because there is a lot of expertise out there. And if you can find a mentor and a coach, it will help dramatically.
How does a recruiter go about finding a mentor and a coach? What does that process look like? I'm completely unfamiliar with it.
It's an excellent question, and I don't know the answer, to be honest.
Okay.
I think it's a case of the recruiter looking for somebody they respect, that they can confide in, that will give them help. Now, it doesn't have to be somebody who is doing it for a living. It could be somebody that owns their own recruitment company. It may not necessarily be a recruitment person. I think it's preferable, but if you've got somebody who's a very good entrepreneur, they could give you the parts that you're missing. There are business coaches out there are mentors out there. There's some good ones and some bad ones. But it also depends what you want. Do you want a business partner? Do you want a coach you can ring up whenever you want? Do you want somebody who's going to chair your board meetings? It depends what you're looking for, because back down to sort of, I think 2004, 2005, we were looking for a non-exec because we felt that we needed to add value to our business. And quite frankly, we struggled. I couldn't find anybody. Went to Cranfield University, and our first non-exec, our first mentor and coach, was our tutor at Cranfield. So we took him on, worked with him for a while. Then we found a recruitment specialist, and he came on board for a while. But I'll be honest with you, it's not necessarily that easy for somebody who's just setting up. It takes a bit of head scratching, because the problem is, if you set up on your own, clearly it's confidential, so you can't ask around too much for fear of being found out. Once you've set up, I think it is just using your network.
Yeah, when I bring myself back to when we launched this, I wish I knew. I wish I knew then what I know now. I probably wouldn't have went down a lot of the same avenues. Is there any type of guidance or process that you bring new people on into your fold with?
So when you say process, what do you mean?
Well, what do you if somebody's brand new, you've decided, you said, okay, like, we're going to take you on. They've given you a vision, might not be exactly bulletproof. Is there a 3-month plan, a 6-month plan that you work with them to achieve goals and work through that, or how does it work for people who work with you?
Well, it's fairly fluid depending on the recruiter, because what I don't like to do is give them a blueprint of my businesses, because at the end of the day, it's their business.
Yeah.
So fluid with them. Also, their needs are different. Some people like a lot of attention. Some people don't like a lot of attention. Some people like help in certain areas, not other areas. Some want you to take overall responsibility. It really depends on the recruiter. So I'm fluid dependent on them. But in general, you're looking initially at setting up an excellent footprint for the growth of the business. So that will involve a very good digital marketing plan, a very good website, an excellent database. You get your cash flow plan set out. You get all the infrastructure set up. So that's where I get involved. I sort of build a plug and play, for want of a better description, business for them, but it is bespoke to them. So the website is designed around their wants, their colours, their pictures, their market. The company name is theirs. Everything's designed around them. The infrastructure is something that I put together. And the question I get asked is how quickly you can do it.
Yeah.
I can do it within a few weeks or a month.
Really?
However, it can be done. But what I always say is if you can allow 3 months, it means it'll be done well. So the website will be just as you want it. The database will be right. All the infrastructure will be set up. The emails, etc. Everything will be ready to go. So when you do go live, you just simply go smash the phones. So everything's set up. But if you try and rush it and do it as you go along, you're just making life a little bit harder in a time when it will be stressful, and you've got to accept that. So what you want to do is remove as much stress as you possibly can. Because I've been there, and I know how stressful it is. And as you said, if you look back now, you're doing it differently. If I had, say, for example, my help now, I'd have made twice as much money, twice as fast, with a fraction of the stress.
Yeah.
Because I'd have somebody to show me what to do, and I wouldn't have made the mistakes that I did, and try and learn on the job.
Yeah. It would have made my life a lot easier, to be honest. But yeah, we got through it. What does success look to you when you take people on and they've done their, what is your, like, they're an independent recruiter, they're looking to scale. What type of numbers does a business need to achieve when they've got somebody investing in them?
Well, when I say to somebody, it depends on other people what they want. If you're looking for cash injection and people take 50, 70% or whatever they take, then that's a different area to me. What I work with is, as long as I believe in the person, the success is to a degree dictated by them. I don't support lifestyle business, as I've mentioned.
Sure.
But if somebody wants a boutique business of 3 or 4 staff, that's fine, because you can be the best recruiter in that sector. Have a great branding, all you guys and girls are tied in, and that's a great business. So that to me is a success. In the same way that, for example, Taylor Higson went from 1 member of staff within 18 months, he's turned over £1 million. That's a great, and that's per fees, not contract fees. That's a success. It's as much the success as the person wants it to be. But for me, I think the real definition of success is the business is an entity on its own. It's not reliant on the founder. Because if it's reliant on the founder and all the billions really come from that person smashing the phone, to me, it's not really a business.
Yeah, they're a highly paid freelancer then, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly. So I look to help them build a business such that it is a self-generating cash entity, not just with the staff, but also the infrastructure and the branding. Mm-hmm. So clients come to them, candidates come to them. It's an easier place to make money. And if they do want to reduce their hours or potentially exit, it's not necessarily that difficult, because it is actually generating cash for itself. A business isn't a business if it's reliant on the owner.
No, I understand. can we talk more about the when a business has been brought to exit? What type of numbers do you need to achieve to get to the right multiples, and how does that look?
Again, that's a difficult question to answer because it depends on if for example, it's an approach out of the blue, then the numbers are a bit different. If you take it to market, then you're probably looking, it's going to be a minimum of £500,000 EBITDA, which is the way that businesses are calculated in value. So the EBITDA is earnings for interest and tax. And it's a multiple of that is what you generally get. That's how people propose a value for your business. So with a perm business, it might be 3, 4, 5 times. With a contract business, I don't know, 8 times, 12 times. It depends on the market, but it also depends a lot on how well the business is built. Because I learned that through taking my business to sell.
Yeah.
What the buyers want to see in the business, and predominantly, it's they want to buy something that's going to fall apart.
Sure.
So it's not relying just on the staff. The staff walk out the door, will the business still be there?
And what would the step-by-step process be in terms of the checks that they're doing on your business in order to get to that valuation?
Well, most corporate finances will be able to give you a back of a fact packet valuation because you tell them what your earnings were the previous year, your profit was. They'll do a brief overview of your business. From that, they can say you're going to get 3 times, 4 times, 5, 6 times, whatever. But that's when the hard work. It's really hard work to the point where it's so stressful. I wouldn't necessarily advise people go through with it because even building your information memorandum, which is the brochure that the corporate financial will take to market, they're crawling through all your invoices. They're crawling through the way the business is set up. The questions are endless. This is so that you're prepared for the sale because when you're being interviewed by somebody, if they're looking to spend 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20 million, they're going to really put you through the mill to find exactly what they're buying. They're not going to go from words. So it probably took about 6 months, I think, to get the information memorandum together, and it's horrible. And it took you away from the business. But what it did do, it gave you a great education about the things that your business has that are good, but also a lot of holes you didn't realize were there, which again has helped me because what I do now is I help the guys and girls build their businesses in a way such that if somebody came along to buy it, it would be worth more because you build the business in a way such that it has those components in it. So it's more valuable because that helps you discipline because the components a buyer looks for are good for your business. For example, having very good branding, have an excellent database, a contract book, those sort of things. These are the things they look for because they add value to your business. So have them in anyway.
And what's the minimum number that a business needs to achieve on its EBITDA to even consider being sold?
I would say £500,000.
£500,000, okay.
To get a reasonable multiple, I would say £500,000.
And how many billers would be looked upon well to achieve £500,000?
I mean, that depends on how the business is run, what percentage profit you run at, and how much is relying on the business owner. But I'd say you probably need a business for the critical mass. You probably need a business of upwards of 10.
Okay.
Because again, the buyer's going to look at it and say that's a business that isn't going to fall apart. If you've only got 4 or 5 people, then if 2 walk out the door, that makes a massive difference.
No, that all makes sense. And if you were to take somebody in from day one, and what would be the first thing you would get them to do with their business?
Well, the planning starts before they go. So, we talk about what's your branding going to be, what's your target market going to be, what's your client attraction going to be, what's your candidate attraction going to be. So we look at how they're actually going to work in the first year. Because the first year, the most important thing is money. It's billing and it's collecting cash and getting that buffer. And that's the most important thing. So as a business builder, I want to put in place a situation that it's as easy as possible for them to make that money. So much of the distraction from hitting the phones and pressing flesh are taken away. But also, what can we add to that to ramp the brand up very quickly? And what can we do for digital marketing to ensure that they are getting free business? So when I say free business, it's not business that they've got through using LinkedIn or the phone or pressing flesh. This is business that's come through proactive digital marketing and reactive marketing. So we put that in place as well. So it depends to a certain degree on the markets. It also depends to a degree on the person's desires, because as I said before, the business is built their way, not necessarily my way. But it's a lot of planning to make sure that your sales forecast is rigid and that in every likelihood you will hit that. And we'll look at the worst case scenarios if you won't and how we're going to do it. So there's quite a bit of understanding how you're going to make money rather than just I make 200 grand where I am now. I'm going to get a phone, move somewhere else, and I'll get 200 grand there.
Yeah, there's so much information to take in this conversation. Can I bring you back to what you look for in the individual? I know you said you need to get on with them and you need to like what their vision is. What would you say the personal characteristics you look for within that as well are?
I think going back to somebody who has the desire to improve. I am a businessman already, or I don't really need much help. Business, I thought I know everything now. That's it. I'm sorted. But then a year later, God, so much more now than I did 12 months ago. And I did this for 2 or 3 years before I realised that it'll always be that way. And I know so much more this year than I did last year. And that's the way this person has to be. They've got to have a desire to learn, to improve. Clearly, they've got to be ambitious. They've got to have a certain amount of resilience, confidence. And that it's probably, I mean, obviously, you've got to improve. For example, if they come from a large organisation and they do £200,000 a year, I'll get them to look at the previous year's billings and say, okay, where did your candidates come from? Where did your clients come from? And that'll show quite quickly whether they're reliant, for example, on the database, whether they're reliant on PSLs, where the money actually comes from and how much of that is going to be repeatable. Because if they're not going to make money the first year, they're never going to get anywhere. But yeah, I would say it's the ambition, the strength of character, and the openness to learn, and I think a certain amount of humility. Every recruiter has a big personality, otherwise it won't be in recruitment. You've got to have a fairly big ego, but you can be humble at the same time. I think if you are too full of yourself, you can set yourself up for failure by just having too much confidence.
Yeah, I think that definitely happened to me in my second recruitment job, where I had a great run in Australia, and then I went to Canada and I took on too much, and it just didn't go my way. And I learned a lot from that process, and yeah, it ultimately led us to setting up on our own. Those lessons learned. So, I'm kind of on to my last question now here, Rhys. And really, it's just to figure out what do you have going on right now, and if somebody wants to reach out to you, who and how can they reach out to you?
Well, currently, I'm just starting to launch a new business, which is going to go live in 2-3 months. And I don't like to launch more than one at the same time because I like to give them 100% attention. We've also got Taylor Hickson, which is still flying. There's a side business there, Older Point, which is an interesting story because they recruit in the residential development market, but they've spotted a gap to brokered land deals because they deal with people selling land, they deal with people buying land. So we're starting to go into that market. We've already made our first fee, and that probably is going to be a second business, but that won't be a recruitment company. That'll be the first offshoot from a recruitment company that isn't recruitment related, or rather it is related, but it's not a recruitment business per se. So that's really exciting. There's a business that I helped set up 3 or 4 months ago, and they've been billing and in profit since month 1. So we're already starting about the expansion plan for them. So with the 4 businesses, there's quite a lot of expansion going on, which is great, but it involves a lot of my time. And where I'm slightly different to some of the other people that do similar things to me, I don't think anybody does necessarily the same as me, is I only work with a small group of people to ensure that they have as much of my time as they want. I don't push my time upon people, but I need to be there when you want me. I do suggest, and I strongly recommend, monthly board meetings so you can have time to work on your business, because you're in the business most of the time, certainly in startup mode. But if you don't stand back and work on your business and look at strategy and put things in place, you're going to struggle to go forward. So I do say as a minimum, you really need to do that. But what I will be doing is over the next 3-6 months is seeing how much time I've got left, because I have got a book in the pipeline. I've got the content ready. I've already found one editor. So that's something that I want to do. And that's going to take a lot of time as well. However, in saying that, if the right person comes along, that can go to one side because that's something that can happen at any time. So going back to your question, how do you approach me? I think the best bit is a contact through LinkedIn.
Okay.
And then we can have a conversation to see if what they're looking for is what I can offer.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I've learned loads, and I hope all our listeners will also learn lots that they need to with setting up their own recruitment business. Thanks for your time, and hopefully we get to speak to you again.
No problem, Dulce. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Take care.
A massive thanks to Rhys for coming on and sharing his knowledge and skills. We'll even forgive him for trying to plug his wife's rec-to-rec business. One of the areas he touched upon in the interview that I'd really like to explore further is how you go about securing investment in your recruitment startup. It's a process that I've never been through, so I'm hoping to interview somebody from that world to find exactly what it takes to make that happen. If you guys know anybody that I should be speaking to, please reach out and tell me on LinkedIn. Also, if you want to come on the show and discuss your own entrepreneurial journey, feel free to reach out to me. I'm available all the time on LinkedIn. Thanks again.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.